much, Susan. As Susan said, now we have about 15 minutes for questions, so I'll be rolling they're about to come. So please do. And just while we're waiting for the mics to be ready, we've one over here. But just to congratulate Susan on really excellent paper. If you take a look at Twitter, you'll see there's a huge enthusiasm for it. And you really managed to pick up on a lot of themes we discussed yesterday and expand on those. And also, I think the richness of the point about the methodologies rather than the findings, and even through your own work in Rochester and Yale, the difference between the two and the different issues you face. Someone did make the point, which I think is very valid. I'm not sure about helicopter parents and Irish institutions. It's not something we have that big an issue.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
but
good.
It is interesting. I think it just validates your point about the methodology as opposed to as opposed to the findings.
Yeah.
And certainly the issue, the other thing you raised is about the different roles the library can take on towards the end there, in terms of everything from faculty recruitment through to campus safety. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
So I think we're ready now, and John Howard.
Yeah, Susan, John Howard from University College Dublin. Thank you very much for that paper.
You're welcome. You were at Harvard at one point, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. There was one thing that really caught my ear as you were speaking. We spend a lot of time in Ireland thinking about the transition from second level to third level, so from high school to university, and you were speaking about that transition from undergraduate to graduate experience. When I was at Harvard Medical School, there was an interesting issue with the entering graduate students who often had a great deal of trouble because they were moving not just from an undergraduate experience, they were working into a professional research environment. And the academic staff there literally had no experience with undergraduate students in a teaching capacity. And I wondered if any of the research that you've done looks particularly at that issue of the problems people have going into a professional school where they're likely to have that experience.
I can't speak to any particular study that has looked at that we did, although I have to imagine it's there. But that secondary to tertiary, from high school to college, one thing that we've done at Yale has been that the university often identifies students who might be at risk. They are what we call first-generation students. They're the first in their family ever to go to college. That they're coming from a high school that doesn't have the same resources as others. Those at-risk students are brought to campus during the summer, 2 months ahead of time before the classes start. And the library is very much part of that program. We have volunteered to be an essential in that program, helping students understand the resources that are available, teaching them how to work with databases. So there's this training period to help those students get ready for when classes start, and the library has volunteered to be a part of that kind of program on campus. So it's not quite what you're asking for, the next level up to a professional school, but we are doing that between between high school and entering into college.
Thank you. Susan, thanks very much. That was very interesting. My name is Siobhan Dunn. I'm from Dublin City University, and I'm very interested in this whole area. You've done an awful lot of work in this, and quite long-term studies over a number of years. It's very resource intensive in terms of staff time and financial resources. Have you looked at how you can measure the value of those ethnographic studies? Is there direct outputs in terms of the interventions that you put in place as a result of those studies? And can you map the success of those studies in terms of outputs?
Yeah. So with each one, in each finding and sort of your intervention, you need a different assessment program, and so success is measured in very different ways. The easier ones for us to assess have really been focused on use of facilities. Those are because we can walk through and we can observe what's going on and see if a space is being used, not just being used, but being used in the way we had designed it for. So if we're trying to solve a problem of, for example, graduate students, what is it that they're doing in that room that connects to it? Harder to do has been more of the intervention on the research level. So where we look at things like what are the number of interactions that are happening and have they increased over time? So when students when we are doing a push to really make sure students understand the expertise of the librarian, do we then see different kinds of interactions happening as a result of that? And can we measure that over time? And we can see success there. I think for me, the most obvious ones have been the place of the library within the campus itself. The respect that the library has gained at the institutions has dramatically changed. And with that then comes different conversations about resources. It has invited us to the table earlier in conversations that the library needs to be there in ways that never happened before. So from my perspective of a university librarian, I see the biggest changes happening there, and all to the good. That almost to the point, it became sort of funny at Rochester. Anything that happened on campus, like, oh, the library should participate. Building a new education building for the School of Education, the library should participate in the design. The trustees of the university are not reading their board books. Can the library study this to figure out why? I mean, it just became, we were the hammer and everything was a nail, which, if balanced, is a great thing. So there isn't a single answer to it. There's lots of different ways, but I think that for me has been the biggest change I've seen both at Yale and at Rochester. So to be able to do it twice and see the same kind of result, for me, has been sort of affirming that that was the right thing to do.
Great, thank you.
Yes. Just one.
Just beside there.
Hi. Thank you. That was a really interesting talk, especially getting everyone to wake up this morning was great. I just have a quick question, and I don't mean to be pessimistic in any way, but when you did all this research and identified the changes you wanted to implement, how challenging was that to try and get people to do things in a very different way that they've always done? And this is the way we've always done it, and there was never a problem before, because some of what you were saying about things like orientation for freshmen resonates, and we kind of all know it, but we keep doing the same thing, and having the research really supports the argument we need to change. But how difficult was that change?
Yeah. So I don't mean to suggest that all of this was easy. And in some way, what was interesting, when we first started at Rochester, we had those who felt like they were very critical. We were dumbing it down for the students. We were making it too easy for the students and things like that. What we found to be very powerful was to share the videos of what we were doing. So if we had a videotape of students just failing over and over again to use our website and find known items, over and over again they failed, that motivated people to say we have to do something different. So what we found early on was, as we discovered something, we needed to broadly share it with the library staff so they could see it firsthand what was happening. And then we were motivated to change. Over time, there was a trust in the system that we could share the findings without having everybody to come in an all-staff meeting to watch the videos and see failure over and over again. We understood that that needed to happen. But I'll say there are some on staff who just did not join us in that journey, let's put it that way. And they either went to another institution or they retired or something else happened because they could see the momentum of the rest of staff. And then another thing we did is, with these studies, we had the anthropologist, Nancy, but who was on the project team rotated across the entire library system, all across the library system, whether you were a full librarian, whether you're a library assistant or whatever that terminology is, everyone could participate. So if you end up with 50% of your staff having participated in some of these studies after several years, the buy-in is there. So you have to be really strategic in making sure that the participants aren't just those who are enthusiastic. Bring a couple cynics on board, let them see themselves. So it takes time, though. It's not going to happen overnight. But I would have to imagine, like with the orientation, you can pretty quickly ask students, at the end of orientation, what did you just learn? It's going to be nothing. But that is the way it is. So you have to be patient. It's not going to happen overnight.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we probably have time for one more, but the good news is that you're going to be around for
I'll be around
up
through
to
lunchtime.
So if you have any other questions, I'm sure you'll be able to.
Absolutely.
But we've time for one quick one. Anyone else want to go? Sorry, over Philip there, please.
Okay, no pressure. Quick question.
Okay.
I think you mentioned at the beginning these were volunteer students.
Yes.
Can I just ask, how did you recruit them and how did you retain them?
So it depended on the project. So if we were doing, for example, design your ideal space, That might be posters that said free food and soft drinks at 2 o'clock or at 8 o'clock or at 10 o'clock, whatever the right time of day is, this way. We might give away or do a raffle, and there might be a gift certificate to the bookstore or Amazon or something like that. So, but if we were doing something much longer, that shadow a student throughout the semester, we would often partner with faculty members who would help identify the students. But because the faculty member was encouraging the student, there was that built-in sense of, I got to stick it out or else my professor's going to know I dropped out of the study. So it really varied depending on the duration of time, but often you can do it very simply by going to the student center with a lot of food, free food, and it's just like a Pied Piper. Students will come and they'll want to participate. So it really varies. All right, well, thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you very much. To show your appreciation for Susan, I said she will be here.
Oh, that's stuff to